My name is Sarah. I am 31 years old. And I watched my grandparents sign away everything. Every acre. Every savings account. Every piece of land they built with their own hands. They gave it all to my brothers. Not because my brothers worked harder. Not because my brothers loved them more. Simply because my brothers were born male. And I was not. I stood in that living room. I did not cry. I did not argue. I just watched. And I made a quiet decision that day. A decision that would take years to complete. But it would complete. I grew up believing my grandparents loved me. And maybe they did. In their own way. In the only way they knew how. My grandfather's farm was the heart of our family. 40 acres of land outside of town. A farmhouse built in the 1940s. A small rental property 2 miles down the road. Sunday dinners. Summer visits. Holiday gatherings around a long wooden table. My grandmother braided my hair every morning when I stayed over. My grandfather let me ride on the tractor. They called me their little flower. I loved that name. I was 8 years old. I did not know what it meant. Little flowers are beautiful. Little flowers are loved. But little flowers do not inherit land. I have 2 brothers. Marcus is the oldest. 5 years older than me. He lives in the city. He visited our grandparents maybe twice a year. He complained about the drive every single time. Daniel is 3 years older than me. He borrowed money from our grandparents when he was 24. A large amount. He never paid it back. Not $1. I was the one who visited every few months. I helped my grandmother with grocery runs. I sat with my grandfather on the porch and listened to his stories for hours. I knew every corner of that farm. Every tree. Every fence post. Every broken hinge on the old barn door. My brothers knew none of it. But they were sons. And in my grandparents' world, that was the only thing that mattered. My mother warned me once. Quietly. When I was 16. Sarah, she said, your grandparents are traditional people. Do not expect anything from them. I smiled and told her I understood. I did not understand. Not yet. I was 22 when my grandfather had a mild stroke. He recovered. But the family felt the warning. That same year, my grandparents called a formal family meeting. I drove 4 hours to attend. We sat in the living room. The same room where I had spent hundreds of Sunday afternoons as a child. Same furniture. Same faded curtains. Same smell of wood and old coffee. My grandfather spoke slowly. My grandmother sat beside him holding his hand. They talked about the farm. The rental property. Their bank accounts. They had made their decisions, they said. Everything would go to Marcus and Daniel. Split equally. Between the 2 boys. My grandfather looked directly at me and said, Sarah, you will marry someday. Your husband will provide for you. I was 22. I had a college degree. I had a full-time job. I had never once asked them for a single dollar. But I would receive nothing. Because I was a girl. I nodded. I said, I understand, Grandpa. I hugged them both. I drove 4 hours home. I cried for 1 hour exactly. Then I stopped. I made a list that night. Not a list of complaints. Not a list of things that were unfair. A list of goals. I was going to build something they could never take from me. Because they never offered it to me. I was going to build my own inheritance. I started small. I saved aggressively. I cut every unnecessary expense from my life. I lived below my means for 3 full years. At 25, I took a second job on weekends. At 26, I started educating myself about real estate investing. I read every book I could find. I watched every video. I took an online course. I was not naturally wealthy. I had no safety net. No family money waiting for me. I had only myself. And that turned out to be enough. At 27, I purchased my first property. A small duplex in a mid-sized city 30 minutes from where I grew up. It needed work. The kitchen was outdated. One bathroom had water damage. The backyard was overgrown. I spent 4 months renovating it myself on weekends. I learned plumbing basics. I painted every room. I replaced the flooring in the entire upper unit. When I was done, both units were rented within 3 weeks. I sat in my car outside that duplex on the first day both tenants moved in. I did not call anyone. I did not post about it. I just sat there quietly. And I thought about that living room. That family meeting. My grandfather's words. Your husband will provide for you. I smiled. I drove home. My grandparents aged. My brothers remained distant. Marcus made decent money in the city but spent everything he earned. He had an expensive lifestyle and almost no savings. Daniel struggled constantly. He had changed jobs 4 times in 5 years. He was always one bad month away from a crisis. Meanwhile, I kept building. At 28, I bought a second property. A single-family home that I rented to a young family. At 29, I refinanced the duplex and used that equity to fund a third purchase. I was not moving fast. I was moving carefully. Every decision was researched. Every number was calculated twice. I had no room for mistakes. Nobody was going to rescue me. When I was 30, my grandfather passed away. I was sad. Genuinely. Despite everything, I had loved him. I flew home for the funeral. I helped my grandmother with arrangements. I stayed for a full week while my brothers visited for the weekend and left. After the funeral, my grandmother told me she was struggling. The farm was expensive to maintain. Property taxes were rising. The rental property needed a new roof. My brothers had inherited everything. But neither of them wanted to deal with the responsibility. Marcus wanted to sell quickly and split the cash. Daniel agreed because he needed the money immediately. My grandmother was heartbroken. That farm was her entire life. 60 years of memories. She called me crying one evening. Sarah, she said. I don't know what to do. The boys want to sell. I listened to her for a long time. Then I said, Grandma, I want to make you an offer. I had done my research. I knew the farm's value. I knew the rental property's value. I had spoken to a real estate attorney 2 weeks before that call. I offered to purchase both properties from Marcus and Daniel at fair market value. They could have their cash. My grandmother could stay on the farm. The land would stay in the family. Marcus agreed within 24 hours. Daniel took 3 days and tried to negotiate higher. I held firm. He agreed. I became the owner of my grandparents' farm and their rental property. The same land I was told I would never inherit. The same property that was given to my brothers because I was a girl. I bought it. With money I had earned entirely by myself. Part 4 of 4. My grandmother cried when I told her. Not sad tears. Something else. She held my face in her hands the way she used to when I was small. I didn't know, she said quietly. I didn't know you had done all of this. I told her it was okay. Because honestly, it was. I was not angry anymore. Anger is expensive. It costs you energy you need for other things. I had spent 9 years building. I had not wasted those years being bitter. I had used them. 3 months after the purchase closed, Marcus called me. He had heard from a cousin that I owned investment properties. Multiple ones. That I had been quietly building for years. Why didn't you ever say anything? He asked. I paused. Because nobody asked, I said. He was quiet for a moment. You know, he said, if Grandpa had known, maybe things would have been different. I thought about that living room. That wooden table. My grandfather's voice. Your husband will provide for you. Maybe, I said. Then I ended the call. Daniel's reaction was different. He called me 6 months later. He was in financial trouble again. He had spent his inheritance share within a year. He asked if I could loan him money. I told him I was not able to do that. He got angry. He reminded me that he was family. That I had bought the farm with money that should have been shared. I let him finish. Then I said, Daniel, the farm wasn't given to me. I bought it. With my own money. That I earned. By myself. He hung up. I did not call back. My grandmother lives on the farm today. I visit her every few months. We sit on the same porch where my grandfather used to tell me his stories. She is proud of me. She tells me that now, openly, in a way she never did when I was young. I have 4 properties total now. The farm. The original rental. My duplex. And 1 more I purchased last year. None of it was given to me. Every single piece of it I built. Myself. Here is what I want you to take from this. Sometimes the people who love you will still underestimate you. Not out of cruelty. Sometimes simply out of habit. Out of tradition. Out of a world they were raised in that told them certain people deserve less. You cannot change what they believe. But you can refuse to become what they expect. They did not give me a foundation. So I built one. They told me I needed someone to provide for me. So I became the person who provides. Whatever they withheld from you, their belief, their resources, their faith in you, that absence does not define your ceiling. It only defines your starting point. You decide where you finish.